So today we're going to be talking about something kind of important and something I don't really hear a lot of other people talk about. And that is the difference between living in fantasy versus actually creating reality. So today I'm going to break down what the difference is so that you can be more aware of it within yourself and you're not second guessing yourself like, oh, am I just like projecting a fantasy, or am I actually using manifestation techniques to create another version of reality for myself? This is a big one, so we're gonna jump into it. But first, I will introduce myself. My name is Genevieve, and on this channel, we talk all about manifestation, mostly law of assumption, but I do also talk about other things I've just found are very supportive of law of assumption, especially if you're noticing you have a lot of emotional resistance to your new story. So I do often throw stuff like that in. But yeah, on this channel, we're all about manifesting, how to do it properly, how to do it healthfully, how to actually do it effectively in a way that you're not just getting small little pieces of a manifestation, but you're actually getting the full manifestation that you want and you're keeping it. So if you like that, then I'm here for you, and I'm glad that you have been led to me. Below, I have to say, there are links. There are links to do coaching with me if you want me to help you with your specific circumstances, your life, to get some insights, some insights on your blind spots. Also, I have a course. I will have more courses available in the links below, but I think for now, at the time of me publishing this video, I have my self-concept course below, which is a 31-day course that is really about going to your foundation and really doing a reset of who do you think you are in this life, and seeing clearly why maybe some of your manifestations aren't coming through, because you still at the core of you are an I am that is, I am not enough. I am not trustworthy. I am not lovable. I am not all of those things. So if you want to do like a total reset of your self-concept, then that's below as well. And then I also have links to another channel that I used to do that I don't really do so much anymore, but it's a healing ASMR channel that could also be supportive to you if you are on a manifestation journey. I think that's it. So let's talk about this. I'm going to start by kind of talking about myself personally, because when I first found out about manifesting and law of assumption in particular, and I heard all about how just visualize that you already have it, just visualize the scene, and boom, you will manifest what you see in your consciousness. So I was like, cool, that's really easy, that's very simple, I can totally do that. But then I started questioning more, and I was like, you know, when I was a kid, I did this thing that maybe some of you can relate to called maladaptive daydreaming is what I believe it's technically called, where I was living in my head like all the time. Like I was always up in my head having a very real kind of fantasy about me being in a different life, basically. But as a kid, and this is the reason these things are called maladaptive daydreaming or maladaptive fantasies, is because I was doing that to escape reality. As a kid, I really was uncomfortable in my life. I really felt like I did not fit in. I felt unwanted, and I was daydreaming of a life where I was so wanted and I was so connected, and I got all of this attention and validation and all those things that I wasn't getting in my regular life. I was escaping my regular life to kind of go into the other like reality, I guess you could call it, but it wasn't ever a materialized reality where I was getting all of those things. So anyway, when I learned about the law of assumption and learned about visualizing to create reality, I was remembering like, well, how come when I was, you know, a kid, like an 11-year-old kid in school, and I was like fantasizing all day about the boy at school that I had a crush on that didn't even give me the time of day, how come I was fantasizing so much about him, but he never changed? Like he still was just like the boy at school that ignored me, and he never changed. Well, the reason for that is based on what I just said. I was not fantasizing as if that was my reality, because if I was like honest with myself, like in my 11-year-old self, if someone came up to me and asked me about the boy that I had a crush on, that I was fantasizing about, if you asked me genuinely how I thought that boy thought about me, my assumptions about that boy and about myself in relation to that boy were like, yeah, oh my God, that guy would never talk to me. Like, I'm too ugly. Like, I am not cool enough. Like, that guy would never mess with me. Like, that was my genuine assumption, and therefore that was my genuine reality. But I was doing all of this visualizing in my head because it felt good. It felt good to escape reality and go into a fantasy where me and that guy, that boy, were, you know, together or whatever an 11-year-old imagines. But the fantasy never became like something I thought that I could actually have. It always remained a fantasy. The use of my imagination in those acts was to, again, escape reality. It wasn't to create reality. So I'm giving you that story as a mirror to yourself in terms of like, maybe you can relate to that kind of stuff as a kid. I know a lot of us, especially if you did have an unpleasant childhood, a lot of us had a great coping mechanism of doing maladaptive daydreaming to survive life. Like, it was a great way for us at that time to survive and not have to be fully present in our lives that were really not very tolerable at that time. But now we're learning about conscious manifesting, and we want to be sure that we're not going back to that maladaptive daydreaming type of state and accidentally thinking that that's all we need to do to manifest, because that's not what you need to do. So here's the thing. Here's how you know the difference. And I kind of already said it in the story that I explained. When you're doing a visualization or an imaginal act in which you are really seeing yourself and your SP, for example, if you're manifesting a specific person or just love in general, the purpose of you going into that act is you are going into it knowing this is reality. This is real. I'm not going into this visualization in a way that I'm going to escape reality. I'm going into it with the I am that says, I know that this is for me. I know that this is easily accepted by me. I know that this is real. I'm not looking at this in my powerful imagination, my powerful mind's eye to avoid something that I don't want in my current reality. I'm going into it because I know that I can easily have it. It can be easily accepted by me, because that's really key. You want your subconscious to know that this is real. This is an easily attainable thing. And so if you are doing an imaginal act or a visualization and you're still holding on to the assumptions like I was, that I told in that story, if during my regular waking I am life, I had a lot of strong assumptions that me and that boy that I had a crush on were never gonna happen. Like, that I was not good enough, all these things, he was too cool, he was too, all kinds of things that were just not, we were never going to happen. So I want you to really check with yourself when it comes to, especially if you're manifesting a specific person, like, what are your actual assumptions about you and that person? And I mean, like, right now, like, what are your right now assumptions? Because remember, you are manifesting from your current moment. You are manifesting from this place of like, yeah, this is what I already have, or at the very least, I'm manifesting from a place of it's easily attainable, that I could have it. At the very least, you've got to at least be in a very easy to get. If I don't really feel like I have it right now, then at least I know it's very, very easy to get. But if most of your day, for example, is spent in strife over your specific person, if you are feeling like you're arguing with them in your head, or you're thinking about your circumstances, or if most of your like natural where your mind goes throughout your day, if it's in like the problems between you and your SP, and then you're occasionally taking breaks to kind of go into a fantasy where things could be better, but it doesn't really feel real. It just feels like a nice break from reality to go to where things could be better. But most of your actual reality, your actual I am, you as the operant power and what you're taking seriously in yourself, if most of that is spent in, yeah, but me and my person, we've got this issue, and then we've got this thing, and I'm mad at them still about this, and blah, 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 then you are seeing that's your reality. That's what you believe. The thing you're taking seriously, bottom line, the thing you take seriously as what's actually real, what's actually the most reasonable to you, that is your reality. And that's what you will continue to create. And so I guess the other thing I wanted to say about this is if, like I gave in the example of my childhood, if you find that a lot of your life, like your 3D waking life, you still really don't like say you're in a lot of resistance to your 3D life. And again, this is common because a lot of us, we come into manifestation at a time when we're kind of desperate. We're already in a state of desperation because we feel like, I don't have what I want, my life sucks, how can I change it? Oh, let's Google manifestation and we'll figure out some techniques to do. But when you're starting the process from already being in a state of resistance towards life, because you are already in the state of like, my life isn't going well, I don't have the things I want, my relationships suck, I want you to see that you can't continue to believe that way towards your current life, although this is nuanced. And I say nuanced in that, like, I know it depends on different people's circumstances and how they're specifically interacting, that will give me a slightly different answer for how I would address you specifically about this. But the bottom line is, if you are in resistance to your current life, in which you're still going through your day-to-day life saying, this sucks, it's not good enough, it needs to change, I really don't like this, I want to check out of this reality, I'm going to create another reality, but really all you're doing is you're just escaping your current reality by taking a temporary break to kind of go into fantasy, again, like a maladaptive daydreaming or fantasy, then that is not really helping the manifestation, because you're kind of patterning your brain to think of your person or whatever it is you're trying to manifest as like, oh yeah, this is still something that's like very far away from us. It's like still a very like special fantasy. It's very much on a pedestal, this fantasy, but it's nothing like our current life. Like, this is like, it's not relatable to our actual reality. So I'm saying this because I simply want you to be aware, because all of these things that I'm saying are completely based on your perception. And that is what you being the operant power is so cool, is that you can change your perceptions of yourself, of your identity, and you can also change your perceptions of your life. And by that, I mean, you can make the things you don't like about your current 3D reality, you can make those things just less important, less valuable, less interesting to be constantly judging and mad at and fighting against. Because whatever you're fighting against means that's what you think is real. Like, whatever you're engaging with as if it's like, yes, this is a big problem, this is my reality, I got to figure this out, you're saying this is real. So the more that you can really get, and this is why I'm really all about like really knowing your identity and really being clear within yourself about who you are, the more you really know your I am. And let's give a specific example. Like, say if your new I am, there's going to be a really deep part of like just your unconditional identity. If your new I am is, I am always loved, that's obviously one that we all want, and it would be good for if every human in the world I could program, but of course I can't because I'm only the operant power of myself. But if everyone could just really deeply believe and really know that I am unconditionally loved, and it does not matter what my circumstances are, it doesn't matter what's currently going on in just the fleeting day-to-day stuff of my life, I know at my core that I am deeply unconditionally loved. If you really know that, and you really do embody that, and that everything you do throughout your day, you're carrying with you this belief that no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter if you're being good or you're being bad or you're doing the right thing or not, that you always know that you are so loved, you naturally just kind of perceive things differently. You naturally just have a lighter touch on reality because you're not taking everything so seriously. You're not using every little thing that comes up as more evidence or proof that your life sucks or it's not changing or, you know, that whole thing. You are more just like able to kind of drift through it without giving the 3D so much meaning. And that's really what we mean when we say to ignore the 3D. We don't mean to pretend like it's not happening. Because this is also a big example of people who are actually just going into fantasy as opposed to actually creating reality. People who are ignoring the 3D, but what they're actually doing is they're avoiding it. They're fearfully like, nope, I don't see that. That's not happening. I'm just gonna avoid it, and I'm gonna go up, yep, like I'm in the fantasy up here. That's where I am. But it's like you're not really participating in life. Like, you're not really in reality. You're actually like totally freaked out by your circumstances, still trying to deny them and push them away and say, nope, nope, I can't, nope, that's not me. And you're trying to distract yourself by constantly like keeping your focus on something positive or whatever, you are in so much resistance. So when people say ignore your circumstances, we don't mean ignore your life or stop participating in the 3D reality, because the 3D reality is also you. It is an extension of you. And if you try to ignore it or repress it or deny it in a fearful or avoidant way, you are doing that to yourself, because you and the 3D are actually not separate, but the 3D is behind you. It's like, it's a different part of you, and it's the one part of you that's not where your power is. Your power is in here. The 3D changes after. It's like the after effect of you. So you are not meant to be ignoring your life or ignoring your circumstances. You're meant to be in neutral to your life. You're meant to be indifferent or simply not making your life circumstances, the 3D circumstances, mean anything bad about you. You as the operant power, again, because you have the power of perception, you are always going to make something mean something positive, but not just something positive, something that positive you actually can get on board with. And this is also the thing I like to remind people of, is if you don't believe an affirmation yet, or if you don't believe in your full wish fulfilled yet, it's okay to find something that's just like a step in the right direction, like a bridge assumption is what I call it. Like something that at least in that moment, it's like you can be engaged with your circumstance, make it mean something that you actually believe, that's on the right track to get you eventually to the wish fulfilled. Because again, if this whole goal here is to get you to freaking believe in yourself and to believe in the thing that you want to believe in, then do that in whatever way works. You don't need to force yourself like you're just trying to nail in, you got to believe this, only the wish fulfilled, you got to do the full thing right now. That's also being in total resistance to yourself. So anyway, this video has already gone into a totally different direction, I feel like, but at the same time, it still makes sense in terms of this idea of when you are actually doing a visualization or SATs or imaginal acts or whatever to create reality, you're doing it with the you behind the act of visualizing is saying, yeah, this is my reality. This is what it is. This is not a fantasy. Also, a tip I like to add in is that when you're visualizing for creation purposes, you're seeing it extremely real, and that you want to see it from first person. So you're seeing out of your own eyes, and you want to see things in as much detail as you can. Like you want to even try to like smell the smells and like just be in the scene, and you can even touch your specific person if you want to. Really make it very real, because that is what the subconscious takes as, oh, this is very close to the 3D, so this must be real. Like what I'm seeing is like the next best thing to the 3D. So it's more easily impressed upon your subconscious. Because I know as a kid, when I did my maladaptive daydreaming, I was very much seeing the fantasy almost as like a movie, like kind of a vague movie, where it was kind of like seeing the pleasant scenes kind of go in and out, and there was like a storyline that I was creating and all that, but it was much more, again, it wasn't really real to me. It was more just like, isn't this a fun escape? So if you are escaping your current life because you really don't like it, you're really in resistance to just being at peace in your current reality, then you might be engaging a little bit in fantasy in terms of your visualizing and all that fun stuff. Because when your I am is truly different, I know you know what this feels like, because I just know you do. When you really believe something, you just kind of walk through your life differently, and you do feel comfortable to be engaged in your life. It's like, imagine, I said this to a client today, and I'm going to say it to you right now. Like, imagine that future you like came in on a time machine and told you, you know what, that thing you've been manifesting, it's absolutely coming. It's going to be here in 6 weeks. It's absolutely here. It's going to be even better than you imagined it. And I guarantee you, I just got on this time machine to tell you it's happening. That conviction that you would get from that, of that like absolute guaranteed proof of your future self coming in and telling you what's up, you would, for those 6 weeks or whatever, up until the physical manifestation, you would totally be not so threatened by your 3D reality, because you would know, yeah, it's happening. It's happening. Like, I just know it's working. I don't know why, I just know it is. And you would be in a different state throughout your life, and it wouldn't feel like you're like in your current life, like still in it, still struggling with it, but then also going into fantasy sometimes. Like that's a very different feeling than actually truly being in belief and conviction. It's like, yeah, this is happening. I just know it is. I'm fully convinced of it. I know that I'm this person. I know that I'm this version of me. I know that my person, if it's about a specific person, is this way. And I just know that this is working. I just know that it is. You just naturally, if you really did know that was your I am, you would not be so bothered by your current life. So anyway, I hope this made sense today. I hope it filled in a couple of gaps for you. And I really just want you to be honest with yourself. I'm really big on that, of asking yourself, like if you are in a lot of fantasy, maybe about your SP or whoever it is, and you feel like you're not really living your life, you're kind of waiting. That's also a really big thing, people who are waiting for their SP. Oh man, that's another good example of you might not really be convicted of your wish fulfilled. You're instead just kind of in the fantasy escapist, like I'm gonna wait for them and not really do anything except continue to hate my life until maybe they conform. But remember, you have to conform. Like the only reason they haven't conformed is because you haven't conformed. You don't believe it. Like how could they actually change if you, being the operant power, haven't actually become very convicted that this is what is yours? So anyway, this has become a much longer video than I intended it to be, but I'm sure it was helpful to you. But let me know in the comments below what other thoughts are on your mind or what this brings up in you in terms of questions. And I will talk to you next time. All right, bye.